Hey, sorry it took so long. It's actually more work working from home than it is actually being at work. But after looking at this first one, it looks like your teachers may want him to plot the points, and then it says interpret the trend line, and then there are two examples at the bottom of the page that shows how he can interpret the trend line, where he just pick a number from over here, put it into the equation in place of v, and see what h equals. Okay, that's how he can interpret that. Just have him read the last two examples at the bottom, and he also needs to put the data into the graph. So the first one says 1 and 10 right here. So you go over to 1 at the bottom up to 10. That point is there. Then it says 1 and 14. So 1 up to 14, which is here. Next one is 2 and 14, which is here. 3 and 15. 3 and 17. 4 and 20. It's not going to be exact for me because I'm writing on my iPad and I left my stylus at work. 4:15. Boom, there. 5:20 up here. 6:20 there. 7:24 up here somewhere. 8:26 up just a little bit higher. 9:27 and 9:25, and then 10:28. So if you look at it, has a positive correlation because it is going up. So that means as the number of video games owned increase, so does the hours in front of the TV increase. Okay, so that's that first page. Then moving on to the next page. Alright, it says graph the functions y equals 2x plus 1 and y equals 2x plus 4 on the same grid to determine whether they are linear or non-linear. Describe the similarities and differences between the graphs. Include their initial values and rate of change. Then graph the function y equals 2x minus 3 on the same grid. And then it says, what are its similarities to the other two functions? So I don't have a grid on this current platform that I'm using. So I will sketch one, but he would probably need to use like graph paper if he has it. So it says graph the functions y equals 2x plus 1. So we first draw our x and y axis, so x, y, right here. And so you're graphing 2x plus 1. Easiest way to do it. First, you find that number on your y-axis because that is what we call your y-intercept. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Let me make my grid lines. It's not going to be perfect. Okay. So we find one on the y-axis, which is here. Right there. And your slope is 2. Your slope is always the number in front of x. So your slope is 2. So keep in mind we have rise over run. So up 2 and then over to the right 1 from the point you just put on the graph. So starting at 1, we go up 2 to the right 1, put a point. So the point goes right here. Then from this point, we go up 2 to the right 1, and then put a point. And really, all you really need is like 3 points. If you want more, that can help. So then, boom, there's your line. So if you look at it, it's a straight line, which means, yes, it is linear, okay? Keep in mind, linear means a line. Non-linear means it's not just a single straight line, okay? So then we go to the next one, 2x plus 4. You graph the 4 on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is here. 4 is right there. Then once again, your slope is 2, the number in front of x, so up 2 to the right 1. So up to the right 1 will end up here, and then you can draw a line through those 2 points as well. So now we have those 2 equations graphed. That second one is also linear because it's a single straight line. It says describe the similarities and differences between the graphs, including their initial values and rate of change. Well, their initial value is the y-intercept, so the point that we plotted on y. So the initial values are different. The initial value in the second equation, of course, is bigger than the initial value in that first equation. Keep in mind that rate of change means slope. Rate of change is that number in front of x, all right? So they both have the same slope, okay? So that is a similarity between those two graphs, all right? And the differences would be your your initial value. The similarities would be the rate of change or your slope. If you look at the second part, it says, then graph the function y equals 2x minus 3 on the same grid. What are its similarities to the other two functions? All right, so this time we're going to find negative 3 on the y-axis, which is going to be 1, 2, 3. Down here at the bottom, that is negative 3. Once again, your slope is 2, so rise 2, run 1. So up 2 over 1, and we're going to put a point. My points look horrible, but there we go. Then from there, we're just going to draw a line through those 2 points, and boom, we got the other equation graphed. And this one says, once again, what are its similarities to the other two functions? The main similarity is that they have the same rate of change, the same slope. If you look at all 3 lines, they are all parallel to one another because parallel lines have the same slope. All right, so that is how you do this problem. Next, it says, study examples showing how to tell whether a function is linear. Then solve problems 1 through 6. This looks like the equation. Okay. Alright, so it says consider the equation y equals x plus 2. Use the equation to complete the table. And then graph the equation. Does the equation y equals x plus 2 represent a linear function? Okay. Well, it looks like the graph was already... Was the graph graphed already? Looks like it. It looks a little faint in this picture. I just replot the points just in case. Oh, yeah, that's line. That's okay. Sorry. All right, so to fill in the table, what you do is you take the number for x and put it into the equation. So instead of y equals x plus 2, you would have, I'm just right off to the side, y equals negative 1 plus 2. Because we just took negative 1, put it in place of x. So negative 1 plus 2 is just 1. So 1 would go in that spot on the table. Okay. So then, next we have 0. So we have 0. And that's going to go in place of x. So instead of x plus 2, we will have 0 plus 2, which is just 2. All right. Now, what I would like for you to do is find those last 2 numbers for me. Put 1 in place of x, solve it, and put 2 in place of x and solve it, and let me see what you get, okay? Then it says the graph is a straight line, so the equation y equals x plus 2 represents a linear function. It says what is the initial value for the function in the example problem and what is the rate of change? So initial value can be determined a couple of ways. So you can either look at your table and see where x equals 0, where I circled it in red. So x equals 0 there, so you write the value for y, which is 2. So your initial value is 2. Or you can go over to your graph, and wherever the line crosses the y-axis, that is your initial value. And in this case, it crosses the y-axis at the number 2, so the initial value for this function is 2. Okay? And then rate of change is simply the number in front of x. And as we should know, the imaginary number in front of x is always 1. All right? So your rate of change for this problem is 1. It says linear functions can be written with equations in the form of y equals mx and y equals mx plus b. We call that your slope-intercept form. And which form is the linear function in the example problem? What are the values of m and b and what do they represent? Okay, so the previous question helps you answer that, all right? So, let me see if I can zoom out some. Okay, I can. All right, so your equation is y equals x plus 2. There's the equation, right? Sorry about my handwriting. Y equals x plus 2. Okay? Keep in mind, m is the number in front of x, so the imaginary number in front of x was 1. So m equals 1. Okay? And then b is the number after your plus or minus sign. And in this case, that is 2. Okay? It says, what are the values of m and b and what do they represent? Oh, first off, you got to write which form it is. It's in y equals mx plus b form, mx plus b. It's in that form. M equals 1, b equals 2. M represents your slope or rate of change. And that looks horrible. Let me rewrite that. All right. So, M represents slope. Okay. B represents your y-intercept. Okay. Now, that is also called your initial value. Okay. And then over for slope, that is also called your rates of change. Okay. All right. So that's that part. Okay, so it says, do you think that the equation y equals 2x to the second power is a linear function? Explain why or why not. Okay, the reason why is because there is an exponent on your x. There's an exponent on your variable. All right, which makes that an exponential function instead of a linear function, okay? So that is why it is not a linear function. And then the last page that you sent me says Monte and Ramon are each saving all of the money they earn. Monte started with $3 and earns $8 an hour at his part-time job. The graph shows Ramon's total savings. Which function has a greater rate of change? So we're looking at the slope, right? Oh, it did it for you. Okay, well, cool. So it says you can use ordered pairs from the table for Monte's rate of change. So what is rate of change? You do your vertical change divided by your horizontal change, okay? So you're looking at the bottom, this bottom row over here, and you're looking at how does it change from one number to the next. So to go from 3 to 11, that's plus 8. From 11 to 19, that's plus 8, so on and so forth. So that's where they got this 8 right here, okay? Then for the horizontal change, do the same thing with the top row. See how you get from one number to the next. And this is just going by ones. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so that is where they got this 1 from. So you do basically how the bottom row changes divided by how that top row changes. So 8 divided by 1 is simply just 8. It says you can use the graph to find Ramon's rate of change. Ramon's rate of change, his vertical change is going from 6 to 12 to 18 to 24 to 30. So that's going up by 6. Horizontal change, which is at the bottom, that's going by ones. So the rate of change for him is 6. And then also you have to figure out which is greater, 8 or 6. 8 is the bigger number. So of course, Monte has the greater rate of change for his savings. So it says, what do the rates of change represent? Let me go up some. I think I'm going to just speak it because I'm not able to write without my stylus. So what do the rates of change represent? Okay, one little note I want you to use is on assignments like this, they give you little notes in the corner. So this right here, they gave the definition of rate of change. So the rate at which the one quantity increases or decreases with respect to a change in the other quantity. It is the ratio of the vertical change to the horizontal change on the graph. So you're looking at it in relation to one quantity to the other. And in this case, it would be the hours worked in reference to the total amount of money. So the rates of change represent how much they're making an hour. All right. That's what the rate of change represents for this problem, is how much money they make per hour on their job. The next question says, what does it mean in the context of the example to say that the rate of change for Monte's saving is greater? Okay, Monte's rate of change for his savings is $8 per hour. Ramon's rate of change for his savings is $6 per hour. So the rate of change from Monte's savings is greater. And what that means is he's making more money per hour. His hourly rate is higher. So the rate in which he's making money is greater, which means he may reach a particular goal before Ramon because his rate is just bigger, which means he's adding money up faster. Okay? Says find the total savings after working 8 hours for each person. So look at the problem. It says Monte started with $3 and earned $8 an hour for his part-time job. And then I think Ramon just makes $6 an hour. They don't say anything about him starting with $3, okay? So 8 hours for each person. So if you're doing $8 an hour, let's start with Monte. Monte. $8 an hour, and you're working 8 hours. So that's 8 times 8, which is 64. But Monte also started with $3. So 64 plus 3 is 67. So Monte has $67. Ramon is making $6 an hour. So that means you are going to do 6 times 8. All right. So let me find a spot. 6 times 8, which is 48. So he's making $48. So the question said, find the total savings after working 8 hours for each person. So the total savings for Monte is 67 since he also started with $3. And then the total savings for Ramon is just simply $48. So I really hope this helps. If you need any more assistance, just let me know. Just shoot me a message. It's no big deal. It may take me a little time to get to it because I do have a lot of assignments and stuff to get through and messages to send out to my students to make sure they're getting their work done and I'm checking their work. But I got time. So if y'all need any more help, just let me know. Okay? Bye.